Yeah, okay. So I am Colleen Nolan, one of the family care navigators here at Memory and Movement Charlotte. So a big part of what we do is offering resources and supports, one of which is volunteer opportunities, um, not only for those living with dementia, but for pretty much any and all of us, there's benefits to it. So this is something within our wheelhouse that we would typically talk about. So Robyn and I have just pulled out some information as far as reviewing some of the benefits for volunteering just in general for all of us, but also how that plays into some of the brain health benefits for our loved ones as well as for ourselves. And then some opportunities, things to look for. So I guess just some things to jump into and get started with as far as some of the benefits of volunteering. When we talk about periods or feelings of isolation, getting out and volunteering is a way to help decrease those feelings of isolation, getting us involved in community. It can also serve a purpose as far as mental health goes because it gets us out of our own heads and gives us a sense of purpose, which is important for all of us, no matter where you are even in the dementia journey. We all want as humans to have a sense of purpose. So that's another important benefit as far as volunteering for our loved ones. So
And I am Robyn. I'm a physician assistant here. I've met many of you in the past. But volunteering is really important for brain health. Cognitive engagement and social engagement are two of what we call modifiable risk factors, things we can affect that can have a beneficial effect on our memory and our brain health. And so, it's not easy to find activities that satisfy all these. How can we be social? How can we stimulate our brain? How can we learn new things? People, and volunteering kind of takes a lot of those things in one bundle. And so it really can serve a lot. When we interact with people we don't normally see, when we're asked to do a task a little bit out of our normal routine, those can all kind of keep the wires in the brain connecting and growing. And so just because we have some limitations or challenges in our day-to-day life doesn't mean there's not a lot that we can do. So cognitive engagement, stimulation socially, and structure is really important. When we retire, especially, or any major life transition, we kind of lose some structure of what kept our week balanced and kept us understanding what Monday meant, what 9 o'clock a.m. meant, what 5 p.m. means. And so, when there's a lot of freedom that comes with, benefits of flexibility and a little more of do what you want, but also kind of a loss of the routine and some of the benefits we didn't realize we were getting from those days, whether it was kids coming home at a certain time, dinner on the table, coming home from work. There was something to be said for knowing what our week held and expecting us to be somewhere. And so volunteering, even if it was once a week or even every other week on Tuesday from 2 to 4 p.m., there's some anticipation that goes along with that, and a spot on the calendar and someone that's happy to see you and says thanks for helping. Those are all really good things that work or activities gave us. So this can put a little more of that back in our lives.
And kind of playing off of that also when we look at how are we spending our time. So especially looking at our loved ones who are living with dementia, and if we're feeling like, oh, they seem frustrated or agitated or upset, what is a potential unmet need there? And could it be that they were so used to spending their time a certain way, and so their internal clock is still acting like that normal routine, but that normal routine isn't happening anymore. So we're seeing like, oh my gosh, they won't stop pacing and walking around. Well, maybe it's because in the past, that's when, they were getting ready for the dinner rush, if they were working in the restaurant business, or, when they were used to getting dinner ready for the kids coming home from school. So it's really looking at all of those pieces to see, okay, how are we spending our time? Is there a sense of purpose and engagement? And that those sorts of things can help to have positive impacts for all of us, truly.
And then there's also some, we understand that there are challenges that come along with finding something to do and getting involved in unfamiliar settings. So we wanted to just, acknowledge some of this. This is not a turnkey, it's not easy, and we understand that you'll have, some questions, but as far as, as we are getting more mature, our health is changing, our endurance is changing. And so just even, filtering through the internet, finding opportunities, driving to a new setting, physical demands that some activities take, those are all playing a role. And if we're recovering from illness, that could take a little bit of, out of us to get back involved. So we understand that this is not an easy time of life to do this, but sometimes fighting against that urge to kind of not do those things is, just needs a little more support and encouragement.
And so, some of the things that we also touched upon is when we're looking for activities to do, especially if you're looking for something that you're either doing with your loved one, or maybe it's something that your loved one is doing to fill their time, and maybe it's something they're doing with a companion or a caregiver, depending on the situation. Just things to consider as far as what sorts of activities might you want to be looking for. So one of the handouts that we have that Melanie mentioned will have this listed out for you, but just thinking of things about who is my person? What has my person enjoyed? Are they someone who likes working outdoors? You've got opportunities with a lot of the Parks and Rec departments where they have monthly cleanups or things like that. Are they someone who is really engaged and likes to be around a lot of other people? Or are they someone who really prefers more one-on-one interactions? And also knowing that if it is a stage within the disease process where it's not as easy to get out of the home and that may not be as feasible, it may be more stressful, there are still things that we can do in the home. There's opportunities to create cards for people in the hospital. There's opportunities to make sandwiches that are going to go on a food truck. So there's different things and ways that we can just try and get a little bit curious of what it is, and just knowing that it doesn't have to be about the end result. A lot of times it's just about the process and being engaged in something, and the end result is really not important. So.
And there have been studies actually done on this, associating how seniors do with volunteering in their lives and doing some service work versus not. And there's actually 2 really interesting studies that we have reviewed, and one was done by a group called Senior Corps, who has opportunities for seniors to volunteer and then also to sign up to have volunteers help you. And one thing they do is foster grandparents, where grandparents would like to, or seniors would like to act in a way as a grandparent for maybe a family who does not have active grandparents, and there's ways to connect with intergenerational connections. They found that people who volunteered for a year perceived their health to be better, even if they started in good health. They felt that their health had improved at the end of that year. They rated depression symptoms, if there were any, as lower and fewer, and also feeling less isolated and more engaged in community. And those were just, over the years, those things can increase. And so to actually see them go down in the people who were engaged was really impressive. So that was really good to see from a data standpoint. Yeah. So one of the the handouts we made was a worksheet, like Colleen said, and just thought we would give like one example of kind of how things can be modified. There's a lot of opportunities, but sometimes it will look as if it's a little too challenging for us for one reason or another, and we might just say, well, let's go on to the next one. But for instance, we were talking about a food pantry, for example, and there are so many different things that can be done there, even if it's not listed on the site of opportunities. But for example, some of us could actually see a bag full of groceries that were donated and sort them into bins, pulling out one or the other and going around. Loaves and Fishes is one that I know that we have in this community.
Nourish Up is another one.
What's that one?
Nourish Up.
Nourish Up, exactly. Yep, another one we're familiar with. And so, sometimes it's putting the canned vegetables in the vegetable cart and the, drinks in the drink cart. But that might be challenging for people for mobility reasons. Walking from place to place can be very difficult. So, doing this as a team or even just talking with the coordinators there, oftentimes, I might be able to just unload a bag and put one can at a time on a table. And then other volunteers are actually taking it where it needs to go. Or someone's handing me the red can and saying, put the red can in the cart, and I'm just walking and putting it in a cart. So these things can be broken down into really bite-sized tasks. So it doesn't have to be an all or nothing, and people who are coordinating activities are looking and in need of people to help. So they're happy for all the above or any of the above. So don't let that make you shy away from trying or reaching out.
Yeah, exactly. There's, and we also have, again, just a list that we have here always about community engagement and volunteer opportunities, which we are also happy to have for you all and provide. But again, multiple different avenues as far as what does volunteering look like? Is it spending time at the library? And speaking off of Robyn's intergenerational connections, there's also just programs in general where it may not necessarily be like a true volunteering, but it is an engagement with, places like the Shepherd Center have a lot of opportunities for adults, and one of their newer programs is high school students that are connecting with their elders. So just things like that, where just exploring opportunities for engagement where it might not be your loved one who's volunteering, but someone else is, and there's a dual benefit there for both people that are involved. So yeah, just getting curious and creative about what those opportunities could look like for your loved ones and for yourselves.
Yeah, exactly. So we thought maybe we could, and we would love a little participation, not just questions, but if anyone has, volunteered somewhere in the past or, had good luck even from home doing things for others or stuffing envelopes, making phone calls, anything that you think, others would enjoy hearing about, we would love to know about them too. And then we're happy to take any questions or ideas.
Now's the time to turn
Feel free.
That's right.
turn your microphone on.
Feel free to unmute.
Just one thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning, which is I mentioned that this is being recorded, and if you do turn your microphone off and ask your question, your picture will not be on the recording, but your voice will. So if you would prefer not to have your voice in the recording, you can always type the question in the chat box and we'll read it for you.
I will start.
Great.
My husband and I did do we get a lot of opportunities to do things through our church. So that's one, if you've got a church that you like and they have a social justice input, then that's really helpful. And we've done a lot of things with them. And we were doing the 20 sandwiches every week. And then we found out we could go to the men's shelter on Tryon Street one Saturday a month. And it's a little taxing. We're on our feet for 2 hours, but it's really great. We're serving 100. Last Saturday we served 170 people.
Wow.
And thanks to memory and movement and what I'm learning from them, I sort of thought, we wanted to be as social as we can. So rather than make the sandwiches just the two of us, we'll try the other and see how it goes. So
nice.
And then we're really fortunate because we have a dog. I think you met Oscar.
Yes, I did.
Robyn. He's a therapy dog, and we go to Atrium Mercy every Thursday morning with Oscar and visit patients. So we try to stay, because we really are sort of homebodies. After 5:30 at night, we don't go out. But we try to push ourselves to do that.
That's great. And then when you sign up or you have a date and a time, and someone's organized it, it makes you get there, it gives you a little more of a
Yeah,
push.
that's the wonderful phase about being a senior. You can finally get done with, being, in charge of.
Yeah.
Just come here, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna vouch for the fact that you do step out and do things in person, because I think you have almost perfect attendance at Take Charge Live. Almost every month you are here in person.
We should have
And-
some kind of punch card.
Yeah, and seriously, you should get like a toaster or something. Because it would be really easy to stay home and do this over Zoom, and
Oh, yeah.
and coming out and driving at rush hour is a little extra effort, but you always do it, and I always see you in conversations at the end, which is
Great. Those are all really good opportunities and varied. From the therapy dog. I'm not sure if everyone heard, but I think their therapy dog, who I've met, Oscar, is beautiful. Every week to the hospital, make sandwiches at home, and also go to the men's shelter and serve food. So getting out of your comfort zone is really, that's beautiful. It's wonderful. Other ideas? We did things even when my kids were little that, when we were kind of going a little stir crazy, but trying to figure out how we can teach them a little bit of, being good people. But there is a group through Crisis Assistance Ministry, I believe, which is Operation Sandwich. And you sign up, pick a day, any day, and you tell them how many sandwiches you're going to make. I think we made like 50, and we invited a friend over at the time and made a little assembly line around the table, and then put them all into, loaf bread bags and drop them down. And so, bake some cookies for the firefighters, things like that. So there's a lot that you can do right from your kitchen table that is really nice.
Hello.
Yes, hi.
Yeah, Bruce Caldwell. I was just going to mention my wife. I had Alzheimer's, and I had two other friends, husbands that had their wives also with different stages of Alzheimer's. So during COVID, we had been going to the Y quite a bit, trying to do the exercises there. But when they shut down, we ended up forming our own little group. And one of the guys had a big garage, and so the wives would go in the garage, and then two or three other ladies from the church joined them together. They had a class of about 5 or 6 ladies that did exercises, yoga, whatever. And then the guys got to walk. So we walked around the neighborhood, and sometimes we drove to different parks and walked around the parks. So got some exercise in, some socialization, and the wives, got to socialize themselves together too, as much as they could.
That's so nice. That's great. That really hits on the socialization and the cognitive stimulation. And so, yeah, volunteering is just one option, but any kind of activity like that is really great. Anyone have any questions about finding volunteer opportunities or interests that, if somebody, we talk a lot about when, let's say somebody comes to us and they say, I'd like to find my loved one an opportunity, but we don't do a whole lot, so I don't know what to get them involved in. And we kind of start with, what did they used to love to do? Was it watch baseball? Was it tinker in the garage? Listen to jazz music? There was one, I was online looking last night actually, and one of them I came across is called thejazzarts.org, and it was even sitting at a table welcoming people to a jazz night. It was welcome tickets or greeters, and so it's really kind of unlimited what can be done. We talked recently with someone who really used to love crafts, and I think was a teacher in the past, and so we thought, why not approach a preschool nearby and see if they need some things, sorted for projects, like into bags. I know my mom was an elementary school teacher, and we did a lot of that at home. Put the pom-poms and 3 Velcro strips into a Ziploc, and, that kind of sorting. This can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I think it's just sitting down and really taking stock in what your loved one enjoyed, what gave them a sense of joy and purpose. And if you have some sort of inclination towards something, there's no harm in reaching out to any particular group to see, okay, is this something that my loved one could participate in? I used to work in hippotherapy with children, so doing speech therapy with kids on horseback, and it was all it was very highly volunteer based. So volunteers who would come in and could participate as sidewalkers, or volunteers who are coming in and just mucking out stalls or brushing horses. So, again, we worked primarily within the disability space. So very well versed in accommodating to meet people's needs. So those are situations where, okay, they may not have something blanketly put on their website, but it never hurts to give a call and say, hey, I have a loved one who really enjoys being out in nature or is a horse lover and could be, participate in something, even if you have a paid caregiver or companion, or even if you're doing it as the two of you together, that those are opportunities that are available or outside the box.
I have a question. Yes, we will absolutely share that overview worksheet. We'll post that on the website along with this video in just a few days. My question though is it helpful, and I don't know the answer, is it helpful for the volunteer opportunity to be in a place that's familiar to your loved one that you're kind of helping to match? Is that
a very good question? And I would say that's where we're really looking at, one, where your loved one is within that disease process, because when we look at the concept of environment, so that's a great question, is it friendly? Is it familiar? Does it feel safe? So, those are definitely things to take into consideration when you're looking at, okay, we want to be out in the community versus doing something from the comfort of our home. So all of those are things to really take into consideration when you're thinking of, okay, when my loved one is out in an environment that might be new or unfamiliar, how is it for them? So would this be something that's beneficial, or would it be more disorienting? So good question, Melanie. Those are all those.
Yeah.
And part of what we have on this sheet is, here are things to consider for when you're considering more volunteer or engagement opportunities for your loved one.
And would you suggest sharing with the place that you'll be volunteering with that the person has dementia or whatever the condition is?
It's up to you. I mean, it's completely up to you, but you want to make sure that, if people have cognitive impairment, they're probably going to want somebody that they know staying with them. So I wouldn't, do a drop-off opportunity in that case at all. So people don't, but people are very sensitive to the fact that someone has a little bit of more need. So you could say things in general terms, we're going to do this as a team, and we're going to be, he's the best carrier around, but I'm going to be the sorter, or, so you can do things in a little bit of a tactful way. You don't have to share more than you're comfortable with. But as long as someone feels safe, and then keep your expectations low. The first time you go, maybe it's just to introduce yourselves and look around. And maybe the second time you stay for 10 or 15 minutes. Maybe the third time or the fourth time is when you actually sign up to do something. So you can build familiarity in really small doses. But even those little steps are stimulating and interesting. So and if somebody gets agitated, that's our time to shine. We're out, we're going to pick up a milkshake and we're on our way home, and that's the end of it. And so we
can be maintained.
not to feel pressure.
The New York City Housing Authority works.
Somebody's got their
New York City residents already
volume on.
experience a lack of heat too often in the
Someone might have a TV on in the background and we can hear it.
those experience least.
Thanks.
If there's any other questions, we're happy to answer, but thank you all for tuning in. It's a pretty brief presentation today, but we wanted to kind of get to the point and give you hopefully some good food for thought.
All right, if there are no more questions, I have just a quick introduction. Some of you may have met Cody Williams. You want to go there?
So it's all senior.
Cody is
Hi.
our guide coordinator, and he's multi-talented and is taking on lots of other responsibilities in the office, and one of them will be he will be facilitating some of these Take Charge Live events going forward. So you might see more and more of Cody.
You'll see my familiar face next time.
Your face. All right, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and stay warm tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.